Welcome back guys. AMD's FSR 3.1 is now officially available in the following 5 Nixxes games: Horizon Forbidden West, Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart, Ghost of Tsushima, Spider-Man Remastered and Spider-Man Miles Morales. God of War Ragnarok will be having FSR 3.1 support day 1 of its release. FSR frame generation doubles the FPS by adding interpolated frames. It relies on optical flow technology and game data like motion vectors. For a good experience with frame generation, AMD recommends having a minimum of 60 FPS. This way you won't be observing a lot of frame generation related artifacts. Input delay will also be not an issue. From my own testing, I can say that you can even use FSR frame generation with games that are running at 30 FPS. However, when the FPS is lower than 20, a lot of frame generation related artifacts are produced and the input delay increases significantly. In this case, you are better off playing the game without FSR frame generation. The key highlight of FSR 3.1 is that it decouples the upscaler from FSR frame generation. This means we can use other upscalers like XeSS or DLSS in conjunction with FSR frame generation. We also have the option to use FSR frame generation without any upscaler. In that case, we'll be required to enable FSR native anti-aliasing. Version 3.1 also improves FSR upscaler's image quality. The focus is on temporal stability, less shimmering and flickering around moving objects. I have already done my testing in the following games. DLSS and XeSS version 1.3 upscalers still produce better looking upscale images than FSR upscaler. On RTX 20 and 30 series GPUs, I recommend using DLSS upscaler in conjunction with FSR frame generation, and on non-RTX GPUs, I recommend using XeSS version 1.3 upscaler in conjunction with FSR frame generation. This is nothing new, to be honest. FSR 3 mods already allowed us to do this using different upscalers with FSR frame generation. I'll be testing these games on my Rog Ally. I have the Z1 Extreme variant of this device. It has Radeon 780M GPU. A Rog Ally is essentially a low-end PC, so we need to use the correct settings in order to get a very smooth gameplay experience. I'll kick things off with Spider-Man Remastered. For this game, I've set the UMA buffer size to 6GB. My Ally is running on BIOS version 338. I have installed AMD's technical preview GPU driver, Adrenalin Edition 24.5.1. Using a 25 watts manual profile, all 3 power values set at 25 watts. 720p resolution CPU boost disabled. Connect 8 Gulicate KK3 Max gamepad to Ally via 2.4 GHz band wireless mode. Just make sure you have the latest version of Spider-Man. I own the Steam version. Games launcher will pop up. There it is. Just click on settings. Display mode set to full screen. Upscale method AMD FSR 3. Game supports XeSS version 1.3 as well. I'm using FSR 3's quality preset. Frame generation option, you can see FSR 3 is available. I'll just set it to off for the time being. In-game racing disabled. Display resolution 720p. Using the medium preset. Motion blur strength and frame gain strength set to nil. Adrenaline settings for the game. Just make sure anti-lag setting is disabled. It was causing the game to stutter. FreeSync and VSync enabled from here, that's it. Using a custom afterburner overlay to show you the performance metrics. Game is running off an SD card, Samsung EVO Plus A2 rated speed. There's Spider-Man. Here FPS is around 70. Observing some minor artifacts around Spidey's character model. Some noise around his head. This is due to FSR's upscaler. Just swing around the city. You can see shadow of Spider-Man is rendered properly, 60 to 70 FPS while swinging around. There's the shadow. Now I'll enable FSR frame generation. Frame generation can be enabled on the fly. On, apply the setting, resume the game. Okay, FPS increased to around 120. This is just insane. Noise is still present around Spidey's head. Swinging around. See, Spider-Man's shadow is flickering. Not easy to observe on Ally's small display. There's the shadow. Minor graphical artifact. I actually played the game on my desktop monitor, so was able to observe these artifacts. The shadow. Noise around Spider-Man can be fixed by switching to XeSS. Game is running so smoothly. Display and graphics. Just set upscale method to XeSS. Apply. That noise is gone around Spidey's head. This is the way to play the game. XeSS upscaler in conjunction with FSR frame generation. This is for non-RTX GPUs. RTX GPU owners can enable DLSS upscaler. Just amazing performance, guys. Look at this. FPS mostly stays above 100. Crowded area, no hitching, and this is the game running off an SD card. Yes, you've heard it right. Now there is a very easy way to test whether interpolated frames are generated or not. Just cap the FPS at 30 with frame generation on. I'll just demonstrate this. I'll cap the FPS to 30 using RTSS. Make sure frame generation is enabled. You'll observe a very high input delay. This is because this 30 FPS is composed of 15 real frames and 15 interpolated frames. Observe the input delay. It's quite high. Now I'll just disable frame generation. Input delay will be reduced significantly. Frame generation off. Apply. Resume the game. As you can see, controls are more responsive now. So this is how you can test whether the interpolated frames are generated or not. Now I'll be testing the next game. Moving on to Spider-Man Miles Morales. I own the Epic Games version of the game. Launch it. This game is also installed on an SD card. Samsung Evo Plus 8 rated speed. Games launcher. 720p resolution. Upscale method set to FSR 3 using its quality preset. Frame generation disabled for the time being. VSync disabled. Using the medium preset, motion blur and fringence then set to nil. Launch the game. Same settings as before. Adrenaline settings for the game. FreeSync and BaseSync enabled. Anti-lag disabled. There smiles. Air FPS is around 60. It's the perfect scenario for enabling frame generation. Just swinging around. Check out the input response. 50 to 60 FPS. Stand under the light. Image quality is decent. This is FSR upscaler. Not observing any noise around Miles' character model. Okay, now I'll enable frame generation. On. Apply. Back to the game. FPS increased to around 120. Yeah, I can observe the added amount of smoothness. Camera animation is smoother now. It's like camera is floating. Controls are responsive. Nothing happened. Oh, I needed to jump forward, my bad. Here you go. So no issues with the input delay. Game's HUD elements are also not flickering. I'll just switch to XeSS upscaler. Apply. Good image quality. I think it's slightly better than FSR upscaler. LS display is small, not easy to notice the differences between the upscalers, but it becomes very easy to observe the differences when you are playing on a bigger display. FPS always stays above 100. Now I'll be testing the next game. So smooth. Now I'll be running Horizon Forbidden West. For this game you need to set the UMI buffer size to auto on Rog Ally, otherwise the game will stutter or crash frequently. Prior to this update, frame generation was broken in this game. After enabling frame generation, it was causing frame pacing issues. This problem has been fixed. UMA buffer size auto. Start Rog Ally. Running the Steam version of Forbidden West. Launcher. Display mode full screen 720p resolution. Upscaler set to FSR 3. Using its quality preset. VSync disabled. Frame generation disabled for the time being. Low preset. Motion blur strength set to nil. Adrenaline settings. FreeSync and VSync enabled. Anti-lag setting disabled. There's Aloy. The quarry site is nearby. I'll be fighting against some bristlebacks there. FPS is within a range of 40 to 45. This is the game running without frame generation. We are hitting the GPU bottleneck. Now I'll enable frame generation. Image quality is decent. Frame generation on. Okay, I can observe the added amount of smoothness. Frame generation is definitely working. New update has fixed it. Prior to this update, frame pacing issue used to occur after enabling frame generation. Yeah, FPS increased to around 70. I just switched to XeSS upscaler. Upscale method XeSS. Good image quality using both of the upscalers. Smooth experience. Game's HUD is not flickering. Show you some combat. It's a very demanding game, heavy on the GPU. See the bristlebacks do some elemental damage. Shot the canister. Exploded. Did not die. There you go. Sprint. 60 to 70 FPS on Rog Ally. This is just amazing. FSR 3.1 for you. Oh no, I missed. Got it. Input delay is not an issue. What just happened? The logs dropped on my head and I died. Now I'll be testing the next game. Now I'll be running Ghost of Tsushima. For this game, just set UMA buffer size to 5GB on Rog Ally. We'll be running the game using the medium preset. Steam version of the game. I would not recommend using MSI Afterburner overlay. I'll be using AMD's Adrenaline overlay to show you the performance metrics. Games launcher. 720p resolution, display mode full screen, upscale method, FSR 3 using its quality preset, frame generation off for the time being. There's the option for FSR 3 frame gen. In-game VSync disabled using the medium preset, motion blur strength set to nil. Start the game. Adrenaline settings, FreeSync and VSync enabled, anti-lag setting disabled. I'll enable AMD's overlay, press Ctrl Shift and O keys together. There it is. There's Gen. I'm at Golden Temple, very demanding area, many non-playable characters around me. FPS is around 43. Gameplay is a bit choppy. Just sprint around. Okay, I'm observing some noise around Jin's hair when I move the camera. Again, it's a bit difficult to observe this on Ally's small display. Easily observable on a monitor. This issue is fixed when you switch to XeSS or DLSS. First I just enable frame generation. FSR frame gen on, apply. Resume the game. Check out the input response. Yeah, I can observe the added amount of smoothness. That sluggishness is gone now. Camera animation is smooth, definitely smoother than before. Sprinting around. FPS increased to around 80. Now I'll fix the fuzzy hair. See, just switch to XeSS, upscale method, XeSS, apply. Now check out Jin's hair. It's better than before. Difficult to observe the change on Ally's display. We are getting 80 FPS. Frame generation works very nicely in this game. Now I'll be testing the next one, Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart. This game consumes a lot of VRAM. On Rog Ally, just set the UMA buffer size to 7 GB, otherwise the game will stutter from time to time. Open RB Grade, go to settings, operating mode, GPU settings, memory assigned to GPU, 7 GB, not auto, my bad. Steam version of Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart. Even for this game I would recommend using Adrenaline's overlay instead of Afterburn overlay. Settings, 720p resolution, full screen mode, upscale method, FSR 3. You can even select IGTI in Insomniac's upscaler using FSR 3's quality preset. Frame generation disable for the time being, VSync disable. Using the low preset, motion blur and film gain 10 set to nil. That's the game. Adrenaline settings for the game, FreeSync and VSync enable, anti-lag setting disabled. Enable Adrenaline's overlay, Control Shift and O keys. There you go. Prior to this update, whenever we use FSR 3 mods in this game to enable frame generation, game's interface used to flicker. Okay, so here FPS is around 60. I'm observing some noise around Ratchet's character model, difficult to observe on Ally's small display. XeSS produces better image quality even in this game. Now I'll just enable Frame Gen. You can see VRAM usage around 6.5 GB. Frame Gen on. Apply. Back to the game. Yeah, FPS increased to around 120. Can observe the added amount of smoothness. And the best part is game's HUD elements are not flickering. Finally, this has been fixed. Amazing update. FPS is within a range of 90 to 120. Depends on the scene. My lift. Creatures appearing from different dimensions. Rift apart for you. Made it. Now I'll switch to XeSS upscaler. Greenness can be seen when I move the camera around like this. Can even use IGTI in conjunction with frame generation. XeSS apply. This is version 1.3. Yeah, image quality has been improved. Highly recommended to use XeSS in this game. Still getting above 100 FPS. Rift. 90 FPS during combat. Input delay is not an issue. Excellent experience on Rog Ally. AAA games running so smoothly. FSR upscaler image was looking slightly softer than XeSS upscaled image. Out of ammo. Use my melee weapon. Leveled up. Time to conclude the video. Observed amazing performance gains with FSR frame generation in all of the games that I tested. Input delay was not an issue. Minor graphical artifacts were present in Spiderman. Flickering of Spidey's shadow. FSR 3.1 allows us to use different upscalers in conjunction with FSR frame generation. XeSS version 1.3 upscaler produced slightly better looking upscaled images than FSR 3 upscaler. So I would recommend using the former on a non-RTX GPU. If you have an RTX based GPU, better to use DLSS upscaler. Looking forward to seeing more games officially supporting FSR 3.1. That's it with the video guys. I hope you found it useful. Thanks for watching and have a nice day.